let's paint this cute present. So presents are kind of fun to paint. Bows are like one of my favorite things to paint. I'm gonna make a yellow bow. Shall I make a red? No, we have so many red already. A yellow bow. I love this yellow, the gold kind of color that I've been mixing. So it is the yellow with purple. Maybe you can also add like a tiny bit of pink to that color. I like to touch my towel before I start painting just to make sure I don't have too much stuff on it, too much water. And I'm going to paint the insides first. So if you start painting and you have too much water, do suck it up. It's just hard to paint. I'm going to paint the insides first. That will be a little darker. And then I want to come around and paint the rest of the bow. So I have to be careful if I'm going to touch here, it's going to be flowing into each other. So I'm going to carefully start here. I want to make it a bit darker, but instead of just making an outline on the edge, I kind of wiggle and come up a little bit, and then be careful not to touch here. Make a few lines like this. Clean your brush, suck it up, make sure you get rid of that water, and blend it out. And you will get that gradual kind of gradient, pretty dark to light, so it looks three-dimensional. When it's wet, you can drop in color and you will see how it will kind of just flow. You can also do a little line here at the top. Gonna go same, start here in the middle, pull it out. Maybe point your brush, so even though you outline, come back and kind of bring it in a little bit. Clean your brush, suck it up, make sure your brush is not too wet, pull it out. And maybe drop in a little bit color just here again. Okay, let's go down to the ribbon here at the bottom. Darker here. And we are not done. We have to come back a few more times. And maybe darker here. Oh, I just sneezed. I'm so sorry. And then blend it out. Push it back a little bit so it remains dark here and then a little dark here and lighter. You want to get this 3D effect with light and darks. I keep on running out of paint, so if that happens to you, try to mix more. Oops. And then do a little at the bottom, a little towards the top, blend them in. I'm adding a tiny bit more purple. Oh my goodness. Tiny bit more purple. Tiny bit pink. Touching my towel. And now what I want to do is I want to make some areas a little bit more darker. So even if you use exactly the same color, oh, I didn't paint that. I will now. Even if you make it exactly the same color, it's going to be darker. So I want to make my line. And I don't want to go all the way, so I just want to do like a little loop. I want to go here. And I want to go here. I clean my brush. I suck it up. I do not want to go just with water, so I'm going to touch a little bit of the yellowy color and then come back. If I'm just going to use water, I'm going to lift too much color. So you want to blend it in with a little bit of a color on your paintbrush. And then with this paintbrush, you just have, I'm making it a little bit wet and I'm filling in this that I missed. I let that dry, come with the same dark color and just give a few like lines. And then drop in here at the bottoms. Maybe a little towards the top. You don't want to go everywhere. Check to see if you need to go a little darker here. Sometimes it dries differently and you have to go back and just add a little bit. And blend it out. So don't just leave it. Make sure you blend it. And then I'm going to touch my light color painting. My big ribbon going down, so it should be dry for you to touch here. And then get some of the dark color and touch, so you can see how it will flow into your ribbon towards the top. And touch here. And then check these ones. Maybe you need to come back and add a little bit more. And because the spaces is so small, I would do a few lines and then clean my brush and come back and blend it out. Just to give it time to dry, or else you may just pull everything away. And then I'm gonna do a teal, bluish, nice greenish present. Okay, so I have to wait a little bit for it to dry. So in the meantime, I am mixing a nice green. I'm adding teal, purple, and olive green. And I'm getting a green that looks like this. I want to find the bottoms. Now, if your bows are wet, do not paint. Carefully around. And you can add some water to move it along a little bit faster. And your present can become bigger. It happens. Okay, so now it's wet. Now, I want to show you my pen palette. So it's right here. My color I just mixed. Now I want to take a little bit purple, maybe some blue, and I want to grab a little bit and mix a darker green next to it. So then I can touch it here. Oh, it's already dry. and touch here at the bottoms. And do a little tap, tap, tap with your paintbrush instead of just making a line, so it can kind of flow in. It's maybe wet enough, let's see. If not, clean your brush from that color, suck it up, get a little bit of your green that you have, and then just tap, tap, tap so it can start flowing again. And I like to paint this very uneven, so I try not to go too smooth. Like, I like the watercolor marks it's forming. Okay, I'm making more paint. Paint carefully around your bow. Pointing your brush makes it easy to see where you are painting. So if you have to turn yours around the whole time to get straight-ish lines, you should. And then get a little bit of the blue, purple, kind of darker green for the bottoms. And where your lid is touching, and if it dries too stripy, clean your brush, suck it up, get a little bit of the color, and then just tap, 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 and see if you can let it blend. I like this really dark green. It looks really cute with the gold. Now, it does make sense to paint the green first and then the gold. However, if you paint the gold and you touch the green, you will pull it into your color, and then it will just be hard to keep a clean. It's much easier to paint around it. So you paint the light color first. I'm painting, not touching or not going all the way to the bottom. Do you see the little line I'm leaving? So I'm painting carefully around my bow, but I don't go all the way down to that pencil line. Then I want to clean my brush. I want to suck it up. And I want to use water to kind of bring it down, so it's definitely lighter touching. So you can see where the lid is fitting on top. Now, I may remove too much color, so you want to come back with and just drop it in, especially when it's a little bit wet still. Clean your brush, suck it up. And it's a little bit lighter touching. Okay, so it's a bit uneven. So if I can show you, it's a bit uneven. So again, that small liner brush can help you to just straighten some of the lines. And you can use this. You cannot really see it. It just cleans up your lines. And you can also use this around your bow. So if your bow looks, and I would just go from the top everywhere. And you can see how you can make the bow lines pretty. And then, of course, when you have it so dark like where I just painted, clean your brush, suck it up, and then go mess up that line. So push it a little back and let the water goes in there to kind of move it around. So you don't want to see an outline. You just kind of want to have a pretty, like a pretty line. And if your bow lost a little bit of his edge here at the bottom, luckily it can be like curled, so like not so straight. So you can just go back and get in there with a small brush. And then see how your green dried. So remember we didn't paint all the way down. So, and then we use water to kind of blend it in. So now if your greens are not really matching, take a little bit of a brighter or an olive green and just paint, do a little wash over the lid. So it just feels like the same green. And again, if you lose your lid, wait for it to dry, but then come back with the skinny brush and just add a dark line. Let's just quickly look at our bow again. So I'm going to now use my small brush and I'm going to go with the same bow color. So the brown, the yellow, maybe a tiny, no, the yellow, the purple, yellow and purple. And I can do the same thing. So I can kind of straighten some of these lines a little bit. Even if it's the same color, it's going to show up differently. And I can basically use my pencil lines to help me. And I can just come back and do a few little lines. I'm not going to leave it like that. And I can do a few lines here. And then make sure your brush is clean from green or whatever color present you made. And then you can kind of just soften it a little bit. I'm checking my present again, and I'm going to bring purple and green. And I'm just giving another little line here. And by pushing down your brush like this, you can kind of do a little colored in effect and wiggle to see the lid on top. And if you want to, you can come back at the bottoms and do the same thing. And there's your little bow present.